Hey everybody, welcome, welcome, welcome. It's great to see you here today, and I'm super excited. I'm going to be talking about how to do a competitive audit. And I am just going to check my YouTube feed over here for a second, and it is coming in loud and clear. So I quit out of Firefox. All right. Peter, Lewis, Daniel, good to see you guys. Psyched that you're here. And we are going to talk about competitive audits today, which is going to be super exciting. And it's about how you can use competitive audits to expand the projects that you work on with your clients, and also use those audits to educate yourself in terms of the competitive landscape that your clients are living in, so you can communicate more effectively as you go through a project. And so I'm going to get into some nitty gritty about how to do a competitive landscape, competitive audit, excuse me. And so, but I want to do a little housekeeping at the beginning, and that is if you are not part of the Brand Design Masters Facebook group, you should definitely join. Go to facebook.com/groups/Brand Design Masters and join. It's an incredible group of creative professionals. A lot of people here in the chat I know are actually in that group, and people are sharing resources and feedback and networking with each other. It's a really great, vibrant group, so I encourage you to go over there. And one of the reasons why I'm going to encourage you today to go over there and become a member, if you're not, is that I'm going to be going live over there tomorrow, doing a live on how to win design critiques. And this is going to be super helpful to you if you have struggled at any time in your career getting your work approved with your clients, or getting what you think is the best work approved with your clients, and not going through all those repetitive rounds of revisions and all of that, nightmare of make the font bigger, kind of thing. So I'm going to be talking about how to win design critiques, and hopefully that's going to be helpful to you guys. But I'm going to be doing that in the Brand Design Masters Facebook group. So if you're not a member, you should head over there to facebook.com/groups/Brand Design Masters and join, because I'm going to be going live over there at 3 o'clock in the afternoon tomorrow to talk about design critiques. All right. So definitely check that out. And Andy, good to see you. Daniel, Mr. Mero, awesome. Johnny, Renos, Peter, great to see you guys here. Thank you so much for joining me. And just a quick little poll. When is the best time for you guys to catch a live? Because I've been experimenting with that a little bit. And earlier in the week, I find is, in terms of the reporting on YouTube, is where people are, spending a lot of time doing videos Monday through Thursday. But I don't really have an indication of exactly when the best time to go live is. And so I am on the East Coast of the United States, so I want everyone on the East Coast to be able to see it, but I also want people on the West Coast to be able to see it. So I'm doing it from, 1 o'clock on. So if I go to 3 o'clock, then it's noontime or lunchtime here in the East Coast, middle of the afternoon for the Pacific folks. And so I'm experimenting with times a little bit. I could also do it in the evening, 5, 6, and 7 in the evening. But then for people in Europe, it's super late at night. So I'm trying to find the best time to go live. So I'd love it if you guys would just weigh in and say when is it convenient for you to catch a live? Because I just really kind of like to know. And I'm going to go back through the chat after this is over, so I'll check it out. So just pop a time in there. I'd really appreciate it. There's also, if you are looking to learn more about Adobe applications, bring your own laptop. byol.me/Philip is a Adobe course platform, video course platform run by a great guy named Daniel Scott, who's a certified Adobe trainer. And if you head over to byol.me/Philip, you can sign up for a subscription fee of, I think it's about $12 or $15 a month. It's incredibly inexpensive for the whole library you have access to of Daniel Scott's courses and Adobe programs. So if you haven't checked that out, you definitely should. Please use my affiliate link if you would. I get a little bump for that. You're not going to pay any more, but it's a way of you're supporting my work here on YouTube. I appreciate that. And also, if you have a YouTube channel and you are looking for a way to grow that channel faster, I highly recommend using the YouTube plugin called TubeBuddy. So if you go to tubebuddy.com/PhilipVanDusen and sign up through my affiliate link, TubeBuddy is an amazing, amazing tool. I would not have been able to build my channel as fast as I have without it. Its functionality, all of the free stuff that you get with it, the analytics that you get with it, far outweighs its subscription price every month. And so if you are building a YouTube channel, I highly recommend TubeBuddy. All right, you guys, let's see if we can jump right into it. What do you say? Peter's taking Daniel's Premier Pro course right now, and it is amazing. And my wife has taken a few courses there. I know a lot of people who've taken courses there, and they say, Daniel's like an amazing teacher. He's got a great personal vibe. So, watching videos of people who are kind of, don't have the energy or the positivity as teachers can be kind of laborious. And Daniel Scott is not one of those people. He's kind of quirky. He's super fun. He's like very entertaining and an incredibly, incredibly smart trainer. All right. So this is a great time for me in San Francisco, says Mahler. Great. Okay. See, that's what I was hoping. I was hoping that, it would be about 10 in the morning on the West Coast, and it would be just about tail end of lunchtime for people on the East Coast, so it'd be easy to kind of catch it on the tail end of your lunch. So I'm thinking that this is a good time. Tomorrow, I'm going live in the Facebook group at 3, but then I'm also coming back here on YouTube on Friday and doing another live, and I'm going to come back and do that at 1. So that is that. All right. So with that, you guys, ready to jump in? Let's jump in and talk about some competitive audit stuff. All right. Okay. How to do a competitive audit. Competitive audits are when you look at your client's brand and your client's competition. Okay. So the competitive landscape of who your client is competing with. And you want to review a number of your client's competitors and then compare your client to those competitors. And what that does is it gives you a better idea of what you're going to have to do as a business partner to raise your client up above the competition. It's also going to give you the knowledge in order to communicate better about your work and also your client's business if you understand and know their competition. But one of the most important things about competitive audits is that a lot of clients don't really know their competition that well, or they've never really looked at their competition in depth across a series of criteria and weighed themselves against those same criteria. You would be absolutely surprised, maybe you're not, when you have a discovery call with a client and you say, name 4 to 5 of your key competitors, and maybe they'll name 1, maybe they'll name 2, but they don't have a full idea of who their competitive set is, and that's a tragedy because they are basically going to market blind. And so being able to illustrate what a competitive audit looks like to them so they understand what they're going to get when they pay you to do one is it whets their appetite, gets them very excited when you show them a case study of a competitive audit, what that physically looks like. Generally, it kind of sells itself because they are deeply curious about who their competition is and they want to be able to understand it better. Yeah, so if anyone has a question, thank you very much, Daniel, for doing that. I'm going to put this up there. Please type question in all caps before your question. That way I can scroll back through the chat when I get to the end of the presentation, and I can pick up your questions really easily. Okay? So I'll leave that up on the screen. One of the reasons why I'm doing this today is because I'm relaunching Brand Strategy 101, which is my signature course on brand strategy. Competitive audits are an important, very critical part of brand strategy, and I'm sharing just a window into competitive audits with you here today. This competitive audit section is part of this course, Brand Strategy 101, but I show you some some visuals for one, and some case studies around competitive audits that are very illustrative in terms of what you need to actually physically do, what you need to lay out and design when you do a competitive audit. I'm not going to share the design part of it or what it looks like here. I'm going to share really the content and the psychology of what you do in a competitive audit. But if you are interested and really want to learn about how to leverage a competitive audit in your business and sell them as a deliverable service product to your clients and expand the scope of what you can sell to your clients, I highly recommend that you join Brand Strategy 101 and enroll in that course. The enrollment opens on August 31st, next week. And if you go to philipvandusen.com/enroll, you will be taken to the course page where you could purchase the course. You can read all about it in depth, lots of frequently asked questions, all of the different modules deeply explained on this page, philipvandusen.com/enroll, and check out the course. If you click through one of the buy buttons, you're going to get put onto a landing page because you can't buy the course until the 31st, but you'll be on the wait list and you'll be alerted when it goes live. So I encourage you, go over there, check out everything that's in Brand Strategy 101. It's a transformational course for people who are creative pros looking to move their businesses to the next level. And this section of what I'm going to be talking about today, competitive audits, is part of Brand Strategy 101. So what I'm doing is I'm kind of whetting your appetite a little bit in terms of what's in Brand Strategy 101. I also know that there's a lot of people who are in the chat right now who have been through Brand Strategy 101, and they are here again because they are always expanding their knowledge around this topic. Thanks for the question. I think I will answer some of your questions as I get into it. I'll probably answer that one, Mr. Moreau, because I see that question. All right, so this is part of Brand Strategy 101, and we're going to get into that. Some of the content of that right now. And so the basis of this is that knowledge is power. The more you know about your client's competition, the competitive landscape that surrounds your client's business, the more you can make accurate and powerful and meaningful recommendations to them to change things, add things, remove things, do things better or different in their business, and move the needle in their business. So learning about who your client's competition is, what's happening in that competitive landscape, gives you, as the creative professional, as the business partner, power. It also gives your client power in terms of what they can do to differentiate themselves from their competition, how they can compete more powerfully in the marketplace. So, because when it comes down to it, every brand wants a competitive advantage, and differentiation in branding is everything. Differentiating your brand across a number of criteria can be the difference between winning and losing in the marketplace. So knowing who your competition is and what they're doing gives you a competitive advantage. A competitive audit, as I'm going to explain it to you today, and as if you go into Brand Strategy 101, you will physically see what they look like and how they operate. It's a strategic tool. So it's used to establish a foundational understanding of your client's business. So you, as a creative pro, can talk about it more knowledgeably, but that also you can use that to uncover and expose things your client is doing well, what they are, where they're showing up well, or what they possibly, and this is the important part, what they're not doing, where they're not showing up, what they're missing, or what they're doing poorly, or what their competitors are doing better. Because as soon as those things are pointed out, your client will want to fix them, and you are sitting there in front of them, and you are in a perfect position to say, I can fix that for you, and to sell that in as an additional service product deliverable to the project that you're working on. So it's a strategic tool for branding, but it's also an incredibly meaningful strategic tool in terms of the power of you and your business in working with your clients, okay? And as I said just a moment ago, it's a selling tool, because when you show your client what their competition is doing and how their lunch is getting eaten, how their competition is beating them, it's very, very motivational to them to do something about it. And when you expose something your client's not doing, or something they could do better, or something that you could help them with, it's the most powerful selling tool that I know of in doing branding work. And that's one of the reasons why I highlight it very, very important, high level of importance in Brand Strategy 101, but also why I'm bringing it to you here today. Oops, something happened. That got all zoomed in. I'm going to have to move that back out. All right. So in short, it all boils down to the fact that a competitive audit is power. If you can do one, even if you don't get paid to do it, and you bring that knowledge of the competitive audit to the table to your client, 90% of the time you're going to get more work out of it because of that. So knowing how to do a competitive audit effectively, what to include in it, how to bring it to your client, how to position the learnings that you gather during a competitive audit process, how to communicate that at the end of it to the client, puts you in a very, very powerful position. So how do we do it? Okay, just a moment. How do you do a competitive audit? Well, what you do is you have to find their competitors, right? So the quickest and easiest way to do this is, sorry, I'm trying to change the slide here and it is not happening. There we go. You want to find 4 or 5 of your client's competitors. The first place you start is you ask them. You ask your client, who are your competitors? Because they may know of some that you don't know of. Many times they only know a couple, but if you ask a number of stakeholders within the company, you can generally get to 3 or 4. You also are going to do your own research. You're going to do some Google searches of keywords in their category or the type of business that they're in. Say they're a trucking company and they rent trailers. It's semi-trailer rentals. And you look for the big players. They don't have to be local. They could be national. They could be international. You can, through your own research and your own internet sleuthing, come up with a number of competitors for your client. And you have to think about what would it be that someone would be searching for if they were looking for your client's business. So what are the search terminologies that deliver your client's website to people? So if you ask your client, when people find you on the internet, what do they search for? And you search for those same things, and you look for who else is coming up in Google search. And then what you do after you've gathered 4 or 5 of their competitors you jumped ahead, sorry about that. You look at their website, you look at their content, you look at their social, you look at a whole range of aspects of their brand ecosystem. Essentially, you want to look across their brand ecosystem, whether that is physical products and packaging, it might be physical retail, it might be their trade show booths when they show up at conferences, it might be kind of events they put on. It can be their digital presence, like their website, all their social media channels, whether they're producing content of any kind. Everything digital, everything physical, you want to kind of capture and look across all of those things. That's what you're going to be looking at. And then you want to, having trouble controlling my PDF. Are you guys tracking with me? All right, I think you are. Then you want to gather visuals. You want to gather, screenshots of all those companies' logos, screenshots of their websites, of their social media channels. All of these things you also want to capture for your client's brand. So get visuals around all of the competition and your current client. You're going to be using those visuals as you lay out your presentation or in your report in the end. It also is good for you because it kind of, without having to go back to the web and go to a bunch of different sites, it gives you a very quick reference of being able to visually look at who the competition is and sort those. So you want to gather all sorts of visuals and screenshots. And then as you're going through and looking at the competition's sites and where they're showing up and what they're doing, you want to make sure that you're capturing metrics, and that is looking at if you can discern any kind of website traffic. You can do that through a number of different applications where you can, like moz.com, moz.com, where you can actually find out what kind of volume of web traffic a brand is getting. You can also look at their subscribers, how many followers they have on Facebook, how many followers they have on their business page on LinkedIn, what's their engagement like, how many likes or comments do they get on the posts that they make, how many views do they get on their YouTube videos. You want to capture all sorts of numerical metrics around their brand, because those sorts of things tell a story as well. And you also are going to look at, number one, we're going to talk about 9 things that you look at, 9 kind of categories that you're going to look at and think about across each of the competitors. And then when you put together your competitive audit report at the end, you're going to make sure that you are showing and capturing and talking about all 9 of these aspects of every single competitor. Because when you do that, what you're doing is you're setting up a format where you can compare apples to apples, your client to its competition. Let's look at your client and their Facebook page, and competitor A, B, C, D, their Facebook pages, their following, their engagement, how many posts they have, etc. And you want to be able to look apples to apples across the competitive set on each one of these criteria. So what are the 9 criteria? You guys tracking with me? Yes? Give me a heads up. When you go to any of these sites, any of the competitor sites, you're going to be looking at these 9 different things. And it's helpful to kind of have this list of 9 things in front of you. And as you look through their channels and their websites, etc., you kind of tick through these things and take notes across every one of these criteria and through every competitor. Okay? All right. Thank you, guys. Thanks, Anna. Thanks, Peter, Daniel. Awesome. And so first of all is brand positioning. So when you go to a competitor's website, what you want to do is you want to look at their website, their imagery, their copy, their headlines, how they position their products and services. What do they offer? Who does it seem like they're talking to? You want to discern their USP, what we call a USP in branding, which is the unique selling proposition. You want to try to figure out what is their value proposition. What are the products and services they're selling? How are they communicating that they're good, that they're different, and they're better? What are their RTBs? What are their reasons to believe in this particular brand? What is the brand positioning for the competition? As you look at the competition, that's the first thing you want to think about, is what is the brand perception? What is the brand positioning of that competitor? Number 2 is a customer avatar. You want to, as you look at who their followers are, who their their audiences are on Facebook or on Twitter, or as you look at their website copy or how they speak, you can discern kind of who they're talking to. Are they talking to a teenager? Are they talking to a mom? Are they talking to a businessman? Are they talking to a real estate agent? Who is their customer? You can discern to a certain extent what their profession is, what their age group is. And so you want to try to look at their copy, their content, the platforms they choose to be on, and what they're doing on those platforms. Say they're putting their back into Instagram and Pinterest, right? So they're looking for a female 30 to 50-year-old mom, right, who's spending a lot of time on Pinterest or Instagram. Or you're looking at a real estate agent or a HR representative who's spending 90% of their time on LinkedIn. you can discern a lot about a competitor's customer avatar by what platforms they're on, how they're speaking on their platforms, what they're doing and how they're engaging on those platforms, and you can start to figure out who their customer avatar is. Okay, so that's one of the things you want to do to each of the competitors. And you also want to think about their products and their revenue. And you want to look at their products. So are they selling physical products? Are they selling digital products? Or are they selling some sort of service, some physical service, some intellectual product service? What is it that they are offering up? Do they do it as a one-time sale? Do they do it as a software as a service? Do they do it as a subscription? What are the product categories? So you might have a company that's in a whole range of different categories. Say you have a food company like PepsiCo, right? They're in chips, they're in beverages, they're in snacks, they're in all sorts of different food categories. And so you have to think about not only the product, PepsiCo sells food and drinks, but what are all the categories? You can have better for you snacks, which are healthy snacks. You can have, decadent snacks. So you want to sort through that as well. Are there subcategories within those categories? And also then, what are those emotional and functional benefits that their customers are getting from their products and services? So what is it that they are selling? Not just the product, but what is the result that they're selling? So if you're selling food, you're selling satisfaction from having a great snack or satisfaction from having a great meal. If you're selling cars, you're selling the experience of driving a sports car and the status that comes along and the sex appeal that comes along with driving a sports car. So it's not only that you are selling the product and service, but you are selling an experience, and you're also selling a functional benefit and an emotional benefit. And you want to start to dive into each one of those things for each of the competitors and each of their products and categories. And then on number 4, we want to look at visual branding. This is, no-brainer for us as creative pros and designers, but you want to look at the visual branding of all of the competition. What are their logos like? What are their color palettes like? Do they employ a certain kind of iconography or pattern? Do they have a particular kind of layout style? What's their color palette? Is that color palette consistent across all of their different channels? You want to look at all of their visual branding. Do they have an editing style of their videos? Do they have an audio editing style of their podcast? What are the visual and auditory, I got to put that in there, branding elements that each of these competitors employs? Is it consistent? Is it contemporary? Does it look dated? You want to make observations around the branding for each of the competitors. Number 5 is communication. And communication are things like the tone of voice. So what is the sort of copy? What's the tone of voice in the copy that the competition is using? What is their customer journey? How are they communicating to the customer? What are they asking of them? How are they identifying themselves to the customer? And how are they leading a customer through a purchase or a get-to-know-you process? That is, brand communication. What are their CTAs or their calls to action, right? What are they actually driving the person who's visiting their website to do? What do they want them to click? Where do they want them to go? What action do they want them to take? And then who is the person that's talking to them? Is it, an unknown person? Is it a specific spokesperson? Like, kind of like if it's a personal brand, it would be linked around a particular person. Or is it a company voice that's speaking to them? Is it some sort of, is it a personalized voice of a brand? Or is it more of a generalized brand? Is there any kind of brand personality basically involved? You also want to look at content. Oh, sorry, I'm going to make a break here. I did this at the beginning, but anyone who joined after the beginning, what I'm talking about here in this competitive audit is a key part of my course, Brand Strategy 101. I'm relaunching Brand Strategy 101 for a second time. I ran it at the beginning of the year, and now I'm going to run it in the second half of the year. And Brand Strategy 101 is an intro-level brand strategy course that gives you a huge range of tools and a basic understanding of how to deliver brand strategy to your clients. Very, very valuable course. And what I'm talking about here in the competitive audit is a key part of that course. And I'm just dipping into just a little bit of this, the topic that's in Brand Strategy 101 as it comes to competitive audits in this live today. But I wanted to give you an alert that this course is going to launch again the 31st of August in just a week from today. And so if you go to philipvandusen.com/BS101, you can get on a wait list and you'll get alerted in a week when the course goes live and you're able to purchase it. But this content that I'm sharing with you today is part of Brand Strategy 101, but I go into it in much greater detail and I show a whole lot of visuals and give you formatting of how to put a competitive audit together. So check that out. All right, let's keep moving. And then we want to look at content. So we want to look at the competition's content. Where are they showing up? Do they do written content? Do they do articles? Do they do blogs? Do they do guest posts on other sites? Do they do any sorts of media? Do they do video? Do they do podcasts? Do they create any kind of digital media in terms of lead magnets? Do they do ebooks or white papers? Do they do downloadable PDFs or checklists or listicles? And one of the things that you can do when you're doing a competitive audit is you can sign them to their mailing list and do whatever you need to do to get some of those downloads. You know, sign up with a burner email address, right? Or something you can shuttle off or set up a rule to go to spam after you're done with a competitive audit. But sign up and get some of the content that the competitors are doing so you can really understand what it is they're giving away and how they're getting engagement with their audience. And then you also want to look at their marketing. How are they marketing? There's two kinds of marketing, essentially, right? There's inbound marketing or content marketing, and there's promotion or paid advertising. And so you want to discern what is it that they're doing. Are they doing a lot of content marketing? Are they putting out a lot of videos and podcasts and drawing people to them? Or are they doing a lot of paid advertising in terms of Facebook or Google advertising? Are they showing up at conferences? Are they doing sponsorships? Do they hire affiliates to sell their stuff for them? What are those pathways that they use to do their marketing? And this is very exposing when you look at a large range of competitors, because the competitors may all focus on doing the same sort of marketing because that sort of marketing may really work well with that particular avatar that they have. Depending on the category of business that the competitive set is in, sometimes how they go about marketing is very similar to each other. And one way to stand out is to market in a slightly different way or go through a different channel. So understanding how a category or a competitive set markets itself gives you the knowledge that you need to say, hey, we need to do this as a baseline, but we can differentiate ourselves by doing this thing over here. So understanding how the competition is marketing itself. Oops, and I jumped ahead again. And number 8 is social channels. So you want to look at Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and Pinterest and LinkedIn and YouTube and all of the different social channels, and you want to see what their audience size is there. What are they posting? Are they getting traction? Are they getting engagement? Where are they showing up? Where are they not showing up? And this I've found in doing competitive audits in my agency is very illuminating. And can really expose a lot of potential work to do for your client. If the competition is showing up and killing it on some other social platform that your client is not, it's always a really ripe opportunity to get them on that platform and get some content developed and to get some engagement and start building audiences. So finding out and illustrating what kind of social channels and what kind of activity the competition is doing on those social channels is really helpful when you're doing an audit. And then engagement. And engagement it's kind of the tail end, the metrics part of that social aspect, which is you're really kind of looking at the followers, subscribers. Are they broadcasting regularly but falling on deaf ears, and is no one engaging with their posts? Do they post very infrequently, but when they do, they get all sorts of conversation and likes and shares around their posts? What is happening? And that can be very illuminating in terms of the competitive set and who's succeeding and who's not succeeding. And then after you're gathering all of this information, and it's going to be a ton of information, you have to, capture it in some sort of a PowerPoint or a Keynote document or some sort of Google Sheet. And then you want to start really looking at each of these aspects, each of these 9 aspects across the competitive set, and comparing and contrasting them. Who's doing things well? Who's being really strong in a particular area? Who is not? Who's failing? Who's looking really lame? And starting to capture this in an observations document. You want to start really digging into and starting to form opinions in your own mind around what the competition is doing and how they're performing in that landscape. And in doing that, what you're going to be doing is you're going to be establishing a couple things. One is called a POP and one is called a POD. There's a ton of acronyms in the branding world, but a POP is a point of parity. And that is, what do you have to do to basically meet a baseline? What do you have to do to be competitive at all in this category or business? What is the point of parity? Meaning, you have to do this one thing, you have to show up on this one platform and do this one sort of activity in order to even be a player. And you may find that your client is not showing up on a particular thing to be at parity, even with its competition. And that, again, is this massive opportunity for you to sell in additional work or additional products or projects or services to them to get them to parity. Now, the other thing you want to establish is what is the POD, or the point of differentiation. How is the competitive set differentiating itself from each other? So you may have a competitor who's like crazy great at visual branding, and they're massively consistent, and every place they show up, they're unmistakable because of their color palette and their fonts and their illustration style is so absolutely consistent. You may have a competitor who's blowing it out of the park in terms of content. They're producing a podcast and videos, and they're getting lots of engagement. They have a lot of followers. What is the point of differentiation that the competitive set is exhibiting? How are competitors differentiating themselves from each other? And that will then, for you and your client, expose how you might be able to get them to a place where they can differentiate themselves, right? And so you focus on where the competition is doing it better. And then you also want to focus on the SWOT, yet another acronym. You want to focus on the strengths, the weaknesses, the opportunities, and the threats. And this is yet another part of Brand Strategy 101. But you kind of torture test all of the observations that you've made across those 9 different criteria about who is really strong, who is weak, where are there opportunities for your client, where are there threats for your client in terms of what the competition is doing. You want to start framing that out in your mind. And then once you start framing it out in your mind, you want to start capturing it in writing. You want to start writing down high-level observations and recommendations. The observations are, to a certain extent, the easy part, because you've looked at the competition across these 9 criteria. You have now, made an assessment and found where the strengths, weaknesses, and threats and opportunities are. You've looked at where the points of parity and points of differentiation are. You've compared and contrasted them. You've taken a whole lot of notes. And then what you have to do is you have to sort through all that and decide what are the most important things that I need to surface and explain and illustrate to my client. And that, to a certain extent, takes some experience to understand what is the most critical thing that your client needs to know in order to be competitive. But the really important part of this is the recommendations part, because when you come out of your observations, you are going to have in your head some ideas of what you think your client really should be doing, or where they are missing out, or what they need to build, what they need to do better. And you can make recommendations to them about what they need to fix, right? And you want to try to align as much as possible, while being honest and direct, what they need to fix, and then how you could be utilized to fix that for them. So, if you say, look, your Facebook presence is really broken, and your website presence is really broken, or you're not putting out any kind of content, and then offering up your services and your expertise to help them through and improve the areas that they're not performing in, okay? You want to make clear recommendations around what you think that they should do in order to improve. Now, you may not be able to do everything, you may not have the capability set to do everything that they need to have done, but you need to be able to make the observations so they know that you know, and that it is now on their radar of something that you are recommending for them. Okay? All right. And then you upsell. And this is the really key part. When you make those recommendations, that's when you say, hey, you're already broken, right? There's a lot of dead links. Its design is very archaic. It's not very contemporary. It really needs to be brought up to speed. I've seen clients whose websites are still not even responsive, right? They still don't even work on mobile. And so this is where you step in and say, hey, we can fix that for you. This is where you say, I know you hired me just to, do some social platform graphics, but I can really help you on your website, or I can really help you on your YouTube channel, or I can really help make sure that your visual branding is remarkably consistent and striking across all of your different channels. In doing these competitive audits, when you look at the competition, what they're doing great, what they're doing better and different than your client, and you illustrate that to them, and then make recommendations around what they need to fix, you are in the as we say in the South, the catbird seat. You are in the perfect position to recommend your help to them. And that's where projects get expanded. That's where you go from doing a social media, platform banner, to doing a website, to doing a review of their visual branding across all of their social platforms. This is where projects expand. This is where budgets expand. This is where clients start to sweat, because they've seen in black and white and in metrics and numbers how they are not performing, or what it is that they could do better. Competitive audits are the most powerful tool that you can use to sell in the work that you're doing, and more work at the very beginning of the start of a project, if you can get them to pay you to do an audit. And there is value even if you can't get them to pay you to do an audit. I generally do an audit anyway, just for myself, because I have to educate myself about the category of the client, right? You have to understand what the competitive set looks like in order to do the work that you're going to do for the client. And even if they're not paying me to do that strategic piece of it, I may do it anyway, and I may show what I do to them anyway. And I've had projects expand, budgets expand, spend more money with me because of what they saw in the audit that I brought to the table. Investing and doing an audit and not actually even getting paid for it can pay for itself. That's what I'm trying to say, is that you can even do audits for free at the beginning of projects to educate yourself to be able to do the project that you're doing better. But by showing it to them, you can very often expand that project and make more money and pay for your time and energy that you put into doing that audit by expanding the project that you're doing. And so audits help you do that. Audits help you understand the client's business. They help the client understand their competition better. They help the client understand what they're doing well, what they're not doing well, what their competition is doing well, what their competition is not doing well. Where are those opportunities? Where are those strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, right? And it also helps you sell in more work. It helps you do your work better because you understand the competition better, helps you communicate about your client's business to them better, but it also helps you expand your projects. Okay? And a lot of what I'm talking about here, some of it hinges on the earliest conversations that you have in a client relationship, because competitive audits generally happen in the early part of a client relationship or a project. And so I'm doing a webinar called 3 Secrets to Selling Bigger Creative Projects, some of which of what I shared with you today is in here, but there's a lot more. And this webinar is going on, there's 2 of them next week, next Tuesday and Wednesday, the 31st of August and the 1st of September. And if you go to philipvandusen.com/webinar, it's a free webinar, free masterclass. You can sign up and spend about an hour of your time on a webinar with me next week and get a ton of really valuable and executable information about some of those earliest conversations that you have with a client that's going to lead to expanded projects for you. So I'm going to expand on this topic in this masterclass, some of what I shared with you today, but I'm going to get in real nitty-gritty steps of like the conversations that you need to have to get there in this masterclass. So definitely show up, philipvandusen.com/webinar, and sign up for one of those dates for the webinar. And just to remind you, a lot of this, the content of today's live about competitive audits is encapsulated and is a key part of my course, Brand Strategy 101. Brand Strategy 101 is launching next Tuesday. The enrollment will be open for a week. And so from the 31st to the 9th of September, you'll be able to sign up for and enroll in Brand Strategy 101. The course itself starts on the 21st of September, and it's delivered live over 8 weeks. If you go to this website, philipvandusen.com/BS101, you can read all about the course in detail. And then click through to one of the buy buttons. You won't be able to buy it right now, but you can get on the wait list for next week, and then you'll be alerted when the cart opens. I highly, highly, highly recommend that you take Brand Strategy 101. It's an amazing course. A lot of people have already been through it, and it has transformed their businesses. And if you've even gotten any kind of a hint of the quality of the content in this live here today, it is about 12-fold inside of Brand Strategy 101. Plus, you get over 25 checklists and strategy tools, deep instruction on how to use them, how to sell them in, and how to communicate in an entirely different way with your clients. That's going to take your creative practice, your agency, to the next level, and give you some real career insurance in our competitive landscape. The competitive landscape of agencies and freelancers and creative professionals. You are going to be buying yourself some career insurance by learning what I teach in Brand Strategy 101. So with that, I'm going to tie it up. And thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. And Daniel, you're awesome. Daniel dropped me a super chat. Thank you very much. Anyone else who's interested in supporting my work here on YouTube, you can click that little button at the bottom of the chat window and send me a super chat. Drop a couple bucks in my tip jar. Anything is welcome. I always appreciate it. And it also surfaces your question to the very top of the heap when it comes time to answer anything at the end of the live. So with that, I'm going to cruise back through chat. So let me know. What'd you guys think? Was that pretty cool? Did you learn something new? I'm hoping you did. Actually, I'm really interested in the people who were in Brand Strategy 101 the first time I gave it, like Daniel and Peter and some other folks. Renos, if you picked up anything new from my presentation here today in terms of the competitive audit, I'm just kind of curious. All right, I'm going to scroll. I have to scroll down. Peter, you rock. Peter says, I always do what Daniel does, except he's quicker. That's really funny. And Daniel says, Sheba Dog says, good job. Paw thumbs up. Thank you so much, Daniel, for your super chat sticker. I appreciate that. Okay. Akamsha. I'm trying to pronounce your name. I know it's really hard for me. Says lots of great information. Thanks a lot. Reno says always good motivation. That's so cool. Daniel, who was in Brand Strategy 101, it was a great refresher. That's cool. Okay, so I'm going to scroll back in chat here, and I know there was a couple questions that came through, so I'm just going to kind of look through those. And it has to say question in all caps, like Daniel said, so I can recognize it. All right, how do you find the client competition if your client doesn't know who his competitors are? That's where you have to do a little sleuthing. You can look on LinkedIn and look on the particular category of business that they're in. And that's one quick way to serve up a whole lot of business focused competition. Also, Google searches. Ask your client, what do people search for when they search for their business, and then go out and search for the same thing and look for who their competitors are. That's the way you would do it. Say, if someone was looking for your client's services and they came across someone other than your client, how are they going to do that? You're essentially acting like that client. You're acting like that client who needs your client's services, but you're doing an internet search and you're coming up with a whole bunch of different answers in different companies other than your clients. That's the quickest way to go about it, but you can also use things like LinkedIn. Okay. Akamsh says, as you said, knowledge is power. Do you think that a freelancer should focus on a specific field to get work, or should the freelancer gain knowledge according to the client? Both. I think I know what you're asking. I think you're asking, should you do your own research in that particular field of business, that category of business, or should you gain that knowledge through your client? What you really need to do is both. You want to interview your client deeply in a discovery call about their business, about what goes into their business, who their customer and target is, all of that sort of stuff. But you also want to do your own independent research through a competitive audit, whether that's a formal one or whether it's one just for yourself, to educate yourself about that category of business, because your client may be prejudiced. Your client may be blind to something or some new innovation that's happening in that category of business that they're not doing. They just haven't been keeping up on. Or you might get some sort of a insight that they didn't give you. You want to come to the industry with fresh eyes. You want to come to it and learn like a sponge, right? Take in everything. You want to take in everything your client's telling you, but you also want to do your own research, because you never know when you're going to observe or see something innovative that they are blind to. And that's the sort of stuff that clients really value, because when you come back to the table and you share with them something that they haven't seen or they don't know about, they're like, wow, I'm so glad I hired this person because they're telling me stuff that I don't know, right? So anyway, that's my take on that. Reno says the competitive audit is possibly the most important tool for clients' market positioning and differentiation to the competition that I have learned to use, and it's highly valued by my clients. Absolutely. And Renos was in Brand Strategy 101, and he started to use the tools and the processes in Brand Strategy 101 with his clients, and has been getting incredible results with them. All right. Peter asks, is offering a free audit a good way to solicit a new client? It would be good experience even if it doesn't pan out, right? Yes, Peter, exactly, it is. And that is actually one of the techniques that I recommend to people if they are looking to engage with a cold prospect on LinkedIn, is you feed them over a period of 2 or 3 weeks with some free content, some free curated content, just to get on their radar, just so they know that you're feeding them value and asking for nothing in return. But then offering them a free high-level competitive audit or a brand audit, meaning just an audit of their brand, or a very high-level audit of maybe a couple of their competitors, just to show them what you can do. It does a couple things. One, it gets you in practice of doing audits, because it's kind of an art and it takes some time to do them and to get good at the observation aspect of doing them. So you have to practice it, right? So it gives you more practice, and it also is a magnetic freebie for anybody. And it's very, very rare that you say, hey, I've done a quick high-level competitive audit of your brand against a couple of your competitors. Could you give me a half an hour of your time on a quick Zoom for me to run you through the deck? I'd love to share you my insights. No strings, no sale, just want to share it with you. Yes, it's absolutely a great way to do business development. And at the beginning, it's a great way to practice, because you're doing real-world projects in doing the audit, and then you're sharing it with somebody. So yes, I highly recommend it. It's a great way of soliciting clients. Interpol asks, it's kind of fragmented, but is design going to be an automation? Design already is automated in lots of ways. Interpol, it's you just look at Canva, and it's only getting more and more automated as we go along. Every single day I come across some AI platform for design or for layout or anything. And it's pretty shocking. And I'm glad you asked that question, because this is one of the reasons why I am doing Brand Strategy 101 and stressing so heavily the importance of learning this sort of thinking and these sort of processes for creative professionals. Because design is being commoditized. Design is being eaten by automated, artificial intelligence. Automated design. And so it's, if you want career insurance, if you want to kind of solidify your value in the creative community, you're going to have to up-level your skills to be able to do a little bit more than what you're currently doing. If you're just doing logos or websites, you have to add in some thinking, some relationship building, some value add to your clients. And so, yes, design is moving towards automation. It is. And so that is one of the reasons why I'm doing what I'm doing, which is beating the drum that you've got to kind of up level your game and learn some of this stuff that you can bring to your clients, because that's the only thing that's going to differentiate you from the bots, from the machines, that they can go to a website and click a button and get a logo, or click a button and get a social media graphic, right? Or a Facebook ad. Okay. Amy asks, how valuable would Brand Strategy 101 be for a product photographer versus a designer? Amy, that's a really great question. The really funny thing is I have two photographers in chat right now. Peter Lewis and Daniel Hagee are both photographers. They both took Brand Strategy 101. And so they could answer that question for you. But I tell you, learning brand strategy will up-level your ability to communicate the value of what you do. And even as a photographer, I know photographers who will contract out additional work that they get. So if they do a competitive audit or have a high-level conversation around strategy with their clients, they may expose work that needs to be done, but it's not work that they personally do. Maybe some social media graphics, maybe some website design. And then they will subcontract that out and make money off of it, even though they're not doing the work. But understanding brand strategy, how to have really meaningful discovery calls, how to do competitive audits. And also in Brand Strategy 101, we link this with the creative process. So we take strategy through the strategic design process and how strategy manifests itself into design, into strategic design. And knowing that is incredibly valuable, and you can absolutely apply it to a photography business. Hope that helps. Okay, scrolling down. All right. Peter says, I'm just going to throw this up there. Amy, Peter says, applying components of brand strategy to my product photo business has been extremely helpful. So there you go. Okay, so that looks like about it. And I think I'm exactly at an hour. I try to do these in an hour, and I'm like at 59. That's so awesome. Just hit an hour. Perfect. If anyone has an additional question, please type question in all caps. I'll stay on for just a couple more minutes while I am sharing this little bit about Brand Strategy 101, and I'm going to turn this off and I'm going to turn this on. Tomorrow I'm going to be doing a live in the Brand Design Masters Facebook group called How to Win Design Critiques. So I'm going to be sharing with you how you can get your work approved. Okay? As creatives, the most painful part for us is when we're sitting presenting our work and it's getting critiqued and ripped apart and thrown away by our clients, right? And so how do you win those critiques? How do you get out on top? How do you get your client to approve the work that you want them to approve? What is the secret? I'm going to share some of those secrets with you tomorrow in the Brand Design Masters Facebook group at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, live. How to win design critiques. If you are not a member of the Brand Design Masters Facebook group, I'm going to bring that up. And you have to go to facebook.com/groups/branddesignmasters, and you have to apply, and your application has to be approved. You have to answer a couple questions. You have to share your email address. If you don't share your email address, which puts you on my email list, full disclosure, and I don't spam a lot or anything like that, but that's the price of entry into the Brand Design Masters Facebook group. You get a whole lot of value, but I want to be able to communicate with you directly. But that's where I'm going to be doing this live. So head over there and join it, because it takes 24 hours to be accepted sometimes. All right? So definitely check that out. Mr. Murrow, will the webinar be recorded? Yes, it will. Yes, it will be recorded. So, but you have to register. You have to register for the webinar to get access to the recording. So register for the webinar and try to make it live, because I do Q&A there, and it's a much cooler experience live, Mr. Moreau. But I know that if you're maybe in Europe or Asia Pac or something like that, it may be at the wrong time for you. But if you register, you will also get an email that for a replay. So if you want to see the video of the webinar afterwards, but if you don't register for the webinar, you won't get that email. Okay? You are registered. Awesome. Okay, great job. Hey, you guys, this has been totally fun. Did you have fun? I had fun. So, yeah, Philip Live has already been like this, right? Like this. This has been totally fun, and I'm super excited to share about how do you win creative critiques, because that's always been the other drum that I beat, is how you can go about. What you do is you're building a cattle chute. Here, I'll tell you about my analogy. And this is just a hint for what's going to happen tomorrow. You're building a cattle chute. Cattle chutes are how you have a whole herd of cattle, 100 cattle, and you need them to go through one gate, right? That's 3 feet wide, 4 feet wide. You have to build a cattle chute, which basically is a big funnel, and you get all the cows to go into it, and they narrow down in single file, and they come out the other end. That's essentially what you're doing when you're building design strategy and getting your clients to approve the design that you want them to approve. You're building a client cattle chute. All right, and I'm going to tell you how to do that tomorrow. Okay, well, this has been awesome. You guys are great as usual. Thank you so much for showing up and sharing your afternoon with me. I really appreciate it. And please pop over to the Brand Design Masters Facebook group tomorrow for the live. And then I will be back here on Friday at 1 o'clock to do another live here on YouTube. So watch for that. And this has been great. Thank you guys for coming. So good to see you. Till next time.